Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sava Esha Devata Durnama Durang Yasyam Mrityuhu Durang Hava Asman Mrityur Bhavatiya Evang Veda. Text 9. This deity is called Dur, because death is far from it. Death is far from one who knows thus. Objection. One may think that the purity of the vital force is not a proved fact. Reply. Has this not been refuted by the statement that the vital force is free from the attachment that the organ of speech and the rest betray by utilizing their power of fine speaking, etc., for themselves? Objection. True, but since as angiras it is spoken of as the self of the organ of speech, etc., it may be impure through contact with the latter, just as one touched by another who has touched a corpse is impure. Reply. No, the vital force is pure. Why? Because this deity is called Dur. This refers to the vital force, reaching which the asuras were shattered like a clod of earth hitting a rock. It is the deity within the present sacrificer's body whom the gods concluded as their savior, saying, "Here he is within the mouth." And the vital force may well be called a deity, being a part of the act of meditation as its object. Because the vital force is called Dur, that is well known as Dur, to be called is synonymous with being celebrated as. Therefore its purity is well known from this name of Dur. Why is it called Dur? Because death, the evil of attachment, is far from it, this deity vital force. Death, although it is close to the vital force, is away from it, because the latter is ever unattached. Therefore the vital force is well known as Dur. Thus its purity is conspicuous. The results accruing to a knower of this are being stated. Death is far from one who knows thus, that is, who meditates upon the vital force endowed with purity, which is the topic of the section. Meditation is mentally approaching the form of the deity or the like as it is presented by the eulogistic portions of the Vedas relating to the objects of meditation, and concentrating on it, excluding conventional notions till one is completely identified with it as one's body, conventionally regarded as one's self. Compare such Shruti passages as, "Being a god, he attains the gods," Mantra 4.1.2, and "What deity are you identified with in the East?" Mantra 3.9.20. It has been stated, this deity is called Dur. Death is far from one who knows thus. How is death far from one who knows thus? Being incongruous with this knowledge. In other words, the evil due to the attachment of the organs to contact with the sense objects is incongruous with one who identifies oneself with the vital force, for it is caused by the identification with particular things such as the organ of speech, and by one's natural ignorance, while the identification with the vital force comes of obedience to the scriptures. Hence, owing to this incongruity, it is but proper that the evil should be far from one who knows thus. This is being pointed out. Om Sava Esha Devataita Sang Devatanam papmanam mrityumapahatya yatra sang dishamantastadgamayam chakara tadasang papmano vinyadadat tasmana janamiyan nantamiyat net papmanam mrityuman vavayaniti. Text 10. This deity took away death, the evil of these gods, and carried it to where these quarters end. There it left their evils. Therefore one should not approach a person of that region, nor go to that region beyond the border, lest one imbibe that evil, death. This deity, already explained, took away death, the evil of these gods, such as the god of speech, identified with the vital force. Everybody dies because of the evil due to the attachment of the organs to contact with the sense objects, prompted by his natural ignorance. Hence, this evil is death. The vital force is here spoken of as taking it away from the gods, simply because they identified themselves with the vital force. As a matter of fact, evil keeps away from this knower just because it is out of place there. What did the vital force do after taking away death, the evil of the gods? It carried it to where these quarters, east and so forth, end. One may question how this was done, since the quarters have no end. The answer is that it is all right, for the quarters are here conceived as being that stretch of territory which is inhabited by people possessing Vedic knowledge. Hence, the end of the quarters means the country inhabited by people who hold opposite views, as a forest is spoken of as the end of the country. Carrying them, there it, the deity, vital force, left their evils, the evils of these gods. The word papmanaha is accusative plural. Left, literally placed in various humiliating ways, and, as is understood from the sense of the passage, among the inhabitants of that region beyond the border who do not identify themselves with the vital force. That evil is due to the contact of the senses with their objects. Hence it must reside in some living being. Therefore one should not approach, that is, associate with by addressing or seeing, a person of the region beyond the border. Association with him would involve contact with evil, for it dwells in him. Nor go to that region beyond the border, where such people live, called the end of the quarters, although it may be deserted, and the implication is, nor to any man out of that land, lest one imbibe that evil, death, by coming into contact with such people. Out of this fear one should neither approach these people nor go to that region. Ned, lest, is a particle denoting apprehension. Namaste. So this text and explanation derive from a time when the Vedic religion and practices were associated with a specific tract of land, namely Bharatavarsha, or what we now call India, but that's a stupid name invented by the British. The actual name is Bharata, because in a long time ago, Emperor Bharata ruled this land. And so it belongs to him. It's named after him. That's why it's called Bharata, with a long A, signifying the possessive case. So this land is the land traditionally of people who do not identify with the senses and sense objects, but with the vital force by means of practicing yoga. And of course, anyone who practices yoga knows that it makes you very much aware of the breath. In fact, you can't move in yoga asanas without being aware of the breath. It forces you to be aware of the breath. So what happens? Then one identifies with the breath, at least to some degree. And if you also have Vedic knowledge, which is rare, you consciously identify with the breath, as in the practice of anapanasati, or meditation on the breath, used by the Buddha. And this was the technique he used to attain his enlightenment. So it is not to be taken lightly. Anapanasati, identification with the breath, is that technique by which all evil is removed. That means overcoming death. Because death is due to this identification with the senses and the sense objects. So from this comes the Vedic custom or principle that one is not supposed to go outside the borders of Bharatavarsha. Of course, now everything is mixed up and confused. And all different kinds of people, even believers in dualistic religion, live in Bharatavarsha. Of course, this is wrong, and it should be corrected. Because actually, this land is the only place on planet Earth where the Vedic principles are preserved to any degree. Now, of course, Brahmins and teachers and traders and others did go outside of Bharata and mix with other peoples with different beliefs and so on. And so they got infected by this evil of identification with the senses and the objects. And they brought that back within Bharata, and thus began this slow degradation into the mess that we see today in the country. So this should be corrected by application of Vedic principles and education of the public in the principles of Vedic knowledge. That we are not these bodies, we are not this gross piece of meat. We are rather the vital force within, because the body is mortal, but the vital force is immortal, at least for the duration of the creation of this universe, which is quite a long time, hundreds of billions of years. So if we want to overcome death, if we want to become immortal, and not just by knowledge, knowing I am a spirit soul and, all like that, but through actual experience, then one should perform the yoga practices and identify with the breath by meditating on the breath. This is like elementary, my dear Watson. This is like the first steps. Well, it's actually the fourth step of the yoga system. The Ashtanga means 8 steps or 8 limbs, literally. Ashtanga, the 8 limbs are yama, what to do, niyama, what not to do, asana, sitting for extended periods of time in the various positions. Then pranayama. Pranayama means the regulation of the breath. How do you do that? Well, just sit there and watch it. This should become such a deep habit that it goes on unconsciously all the time. And you'll notice so many things. Like when you get caught up in thoughts, up in the mind, the crazy old mind, breathing stops. It also stops when one concentrates or makes a strenuous physical effort. This is called a bandha or lock on the breath. And there are so many different occasions when the breath will be strong or it will be weak. It'll be short or it'll be long. And not that you should try to change this, but simply observe it, simply note it. Oh, that was a long breath. That was a short breath. That was a deep breath. That was a shallow breath. That was one of the bandhas. Oh, then my breath suspended while I was thinking of this and that. Huh? So one should observe the breath. One should remain in this state of observation of the breath, even while performing ordinary activities during the day. And the best way to do that is to perform the yoga system. Yama means what to do. And what to do, the very first thing of yama, the first item or element that one must do to attain yoga is take a guru, accept a guru, become a disciple of a realized spiritual master. Not through videos, not through books, but directly, personally. And that association being the association with a person who does not identify with the senses. This will bring you out of that ignorance and into the knowledge that I am the vital force. I am prana. I am beyond this body. And I am immortal. I am beyond death. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.